Hey, Greg, good to see you. It's Mark again. Going
Hey,
to talk.
Mark.
We're going to talk a little bit about leadership some more, and our new
Okay.
course that we're developing. So, one of the things that we've talked about before is how other leadership programs fail, and how that a lot of times they're just rotations on things. There, you rotate the different parts of a company, and you learn these things, but there's really not a lot about leadership and the leadership journey. And I know one of the things that when we were working on this that you said was you didn't want another leadership program like some of those things that are out there. You want to talk a little bit about that? Just tell us how this class is different and your thoughts around leadership.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for that question, Mark, because it is near and dear to me. Because most of the time, certainly, again, I've been around thousands of people. I was part of an organization, and many people out there may be part of an organization that believe that really the only way that you can progress in your career is that if you're managing other people or leading other people, or the more people you manage, the greater your job is or your income. And that's missing the point. All of that is missing the point. And then on the other hand, I see a lot of people talking about, it's been ingrained in them that leadership is something that you're either born with or you don't have it. You either got it or you don't have it. And that's not true either. And what I have witnessed is most people who really fail in leadership and people who really don't benefit from courses like this is that the first really fundamental, foundational thing about leadership is, do you know how to lead yourself? That's the number one answer. And the great leaders know how to lead themselves. And leadership of yourself is something that's very controllable. You can do it. You don't have to worry about 20 other people or 30 other people. All you have to focus in on is yourself. And if you learn the fundamentals of leading yourself, then you'll be amazed at how that then will expand into whether you're managing another person, a department, a company. It really doesn't matter. It's basically the same fundamentals that you learn in leading yourself.
Yeah. So I know, Greg, one of the things that when you talk about leadership and leading yourself is this time that you set aside for self-reflection.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk just brief? I know you'll get into that in the course, but just briefly about that and maybe how that's helped you in your career. That's this time for self-reflection.
Well, and I know we don't have a lot of time, Mark. So the way I'm going to answer that is this. If I were to ask everybody that's watching this today, what's the number one attribute that you think about in terms of good leaders? And I bet I could get everybody to agree that honesty and authenticity is one of the top traits that people look for in leadership. And what I have found is being honest and authentic with ourselves is the most difficult fundamental to grasp. And so my reflection time is a naked assessment of how real am I being? How true am I being? What did I do that week that wasn't that true self? What reaction did I have to a situation that really wasn't me? It was something I was pretending to be. And then processing that through this reflection time. And I do it almost every day, but then formally I do it when I go to the beach. And I can get into that later. Like I said, we don't have a lot of time, but it's authenticity with yourself, being true with yourself. No one's around judging you. This is just you in the closed doors of your mind and going, where was I real and where was I not real? And then process that and deal with it. I hope that made sense to you, Mark.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Greg. And again, every time when we talk about this, I started thinking in my own mind, some of the companies that I worked for, I was involved in setting up their leadership training programs for operations, potential leaders. And I was on the recruitment teams where we recruited, potential leaders out of universities. And one of the things that I did not like about it, because I didn't have full control over it, but one of the things I didn't like about it was there's this extremely competitive nature, even amongst the leaders that we were trying to bring together. And these were the same people that were going to have to collaborate, when they became leaders in the organization. But yet, in this leadership training program, it was extremely competitive. And so many times, what happened was you would start with a leadership cohort of 30, let's say, and after 2 years, you might have had 5 people that were still with the company, right?
Right.
And what I believe that was that a lot of times people weren't being true to themselves. They were trying to conform as to what they perceived that they needed to be as a leader. And they found themselves really not being happy in their role. They thought that's what they wanted to do. But then because they've kind of had to go through this competitive, sparring match, if you will, to be able to be one of the last people chosen to go further on with the company, that, they had to be something that they weren't necessarily comfortable with. Did you ever see any of that in any of the corporate leadership stuff that you were around, or is that common, do you think?
Mark, it's not about did I see it in any, I saw it in all of them.
Yeah.
And in large corporations especially, and I spent most of my career in one of the largest corporations. There's always going to be a stack ranking, but not oftentimes are they going to even call it a stack ranking. And assessment is based on in some ways, something that's not very clear on how you do that stack ranking. So if you get hung up in that, if you start leading your life toward that type of artificial comparative model, you're going to be stuck. You're not going to be happy in a lot of ways. So yes, I have seen it, and it's not have I just seen it, but that permeates throughout organizations.
So one other thing I wanted to ask you, Greg, while we're kind of on this subject, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about this in the class, but again, I'm going to share some of my stuff that I've got, talking to you about what we want to do. And one of the things that I thought was great, or really made me reflect on my own career, was that I never tied my own personal finance, and kind of having that house in order with my career. And there were certainly times where I made decisions based on that versus taking a bigger look at my career and things that I wanted to do. And I thought in one of the podcasts that I listened to that you did, where you talked a little bit about that, really just was an eye opener for me. And could you just maybe share a little bit? I know one of the ways that you were able to kind of move up in your career. Sometimes you took lateral moves, but you were able to make moves in the company to gain more experience. And you had set yourself up to be able to do that. Could you talk just a little bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, I will, Mark. And it gets back to something we've talked about in the previous video cast that we did. At the core of this, again, the most successful people are the people that I see achieving what they want out of their careers are those that are in control. And this is something we talk about a lot in the class, is control. And control also can mean agility. I mean, one of the big words in everybody's life these days is agile. Well, how do you become agile yourself? And what I see is there are a lot of weights around people that affect the decisions that they make. And some of the weights they're aware of, and some they're not aware of. They really don't even think that plays in. But in my story, what I can tell you personally, and I've seen it in other people, is that financial decisions that you make, how big your mortgage is, or how, if you're 99.9% of your income is going in your pocket and out of your pocket, that will affect the decisions that you make. Subconsciously, you may say, well, I can't go get that experience in this other role because I can't afford to take a $2,000 pay cut just to learn that skill set. And one of the things, again, if you think I've had a successful career path, twice in my career, I actually took a job to make less money because I had things that were missing in my skill set or my resume, for lack of a better word, that I needed to fill in. And had I been paying a lot of credit card debt at that time, or a car I couldn't afford, or a mortgage that was too big for me, I wouldn't have made that decision. And what I've told people, especially those that are early in their career, a good rule of thumb is anytime you sign your name, you are adding a level of complexity to your decision making, whether it's about your life or about your career. And some of those may be really tiny signatures. It may just be a little nick in things. And what you do is when I say you, I'm talking to me. What I do is I'm just adding little nicks up on everything, and I push them back in my subconscious. But then when the big one comes for a decision for me to make, all those little things lay into that decision I make. And so the more agile I can be, the less anchors I have pulling me down, the less subconscious baggage I'm carrying into a decision, the more open-eyed I can be to be agile, to move around and make the decisions based on truly what's in it versus what happened in my past. So signing a name, it can be a credit card receipt, it can be a marriage license, it can be a mortgage loan, whatever it is. Those are all complex. Some of them are good, some of them you accept, but they can weigh into your next set of decisions.
Gregg, once again, I've enjoyed our conversation. Thanks for sharing some of this stuff with us. I appreciate it. And I look forward to our next discussion.
I can't wait, Mark. Good to see you.
Good seeing you. Thanks, Gregg.
Bye-bye.